Moo and hello everyone. Welcome to the Pinktron. I am joined today by Steph Etienne. Steph, what are you drinking?
Like last week, the Jungle Joy, the passion fruit and mango ale from Brussels Beer Project.
Okay, good stuff. And also we have John Keenan. John, what are you drinking?
I am drinking what could be the last beverage that contains mushrooms in it in my house. Some Odyssey blackberry lemon uh, fizzy. It's tasty, but I'm getting a little concerned. I couldn't find anything else with mushrooms in it.
That is a surprise.
Yeah.
And rounding out today's lineup, Sean Fogenberg, what are you drinking?
Have a bit of an assortment here.
Oh my.
Uh, I've got, so I just did race one. So I've got my, protein Gatorade thing, but also a Spindrift, mango orange sparkling water, a Scrimshaw, Pilsner, from North Coast Brewing, and a Modelo mango chili chilada. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep forcing liquids into myself.
Probably not a bad plan. That HWR looked like it was interesting. And I am Craig Merton, and I am drinking one of my favorites, the Moosehead Small Batch East Coast IPA. And Sean, you already raced. I saw you make a guest appearance on Matt's stream of the Herd Winter Racing, 3 laps of Innsbruck Ring.
Yeah. I mean, love this course. Didn't this was not a good race for me. I got dropped out of the pen, which is it's the first time that's happened in a while. It also happened yesterday in a ladder race, so I need to up the intensity at the beginning of these races. But I actually feel like I finished around where I should have, and it was actually, it was nice having Matt come back to us because it made, even though I knew it was for some mechanical reason, at least there was somebody much stronger in the group with me. Um, yeah, I mean this race is really about sticking with the group and then hitting the leg snapper hard. Um,
3 times.
yeah,
Did the front
not
group ever catch up and lap
no,
no, I thought it was a
no.
little
I
long for
think
that.
they lapped the last few riders,
Mhm.
but no, the I think it's a 13, 14 minute lap, 12 at the front, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 9K, I think.
so
Yeah, a
yeah,
little
you
bit.
kind of you'd need to be 12 minutes back after they've
Yeah.
done 24 minutes. So,
Mhm.
or I guess after 36. Yeah.
I'm just looking back, and I thought that was the case. My first 2 races ever on Zwift were both on Innsbruck Ring,
Oh yeah.
a 1 lap and a 4 lap. Yep.
Back in D.
In D in 2019, yes. I think that was, what do we have?
So
Uh,
the Herd Winter Racing, the numbers are still good. Race one, we had I think 90 or so signed up and 57 finishers on Zwift Power. Um, and there were at least a few more in the race. So we were still in that 60 to 80 rider range. I think it was definitely probably closer to 80 in the race. So big fields, at least for race one. I think that's likely to hold.
yeah, I mean, different time slots have different different typical
Yeah.
numbers. I'd like to get more going in all of them, but it's yeah. It's a good race. It's a good race format. We got a lot of really good riders who enjoy it. So
Well, it seems like a race people want to complete the whole set on. It's people are, I mean, there probably are people jumping on just to do a single race, but I see a lot of the names week in, week after week.
Yeah, yeah. The big, I think if you're looking to finish with the front group, at least in race one, it meant that you had to be able to do 7+ watts a kilo for a minute. Was about the cutoff for finishing with that front group. Yeah, so you had to be able to do the leg snapper at 7+, maybe closer to 8 watts a kilo.
Yeah, so on the stream, somebody doing a like 37 seconds leg snapper, so
yeah, and that
insane
was
number.
Was it
that's when
Terry?
they were trying to pull somebody back, and
Yeah,
I think they came with it. Yeah, they came within like 7 seconds at the end.
yeah,
And
yeah. One
Terry,
of
how about Terry Rigby? Holy
yeah, third
cow.
place.
Oh yeah. The 37-second was at 10 watts a kilo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that front group, you really need to be able to sprint up it.
Yeah. I think anyway, I don't know the winner. I think we're gonna have to have a quick look at, but
Yeah, averaging 4.6 and doing some big numbers.
well,
Just riding away.
5.2 for 20. But I mean, maybe he's that
Yeah.
guy. No, actually,
Looks
Yeah,
like
he's done
it.
it around.
A
He's done.
French elite cyclist. Yeah.
yeah, no, that sounds legit. Damn impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the surprise, but then and Terry Rigby was the big surprise, but
Yeah,
Tyler O'Callahan, Sam Atkinson, scorekeeper, rounding out that top five. I mean, that's kind of who you expect out of that group otherwise.
Yeah. But
Dan
Terry
Minell,
doing
14.
15 for 15 seconds and 12
Yeah.
for 30 is
Just nuts.
that's
yeah,
he's got some sprint in there.
8.1 for a minute. I mean, like there's yeah.
That's not even close to his best. He can do almost 10 for a minute.
What?
His best on Zwift Power is 9.6 for a minute.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What are the
I
pros?
think we're
like?
all jealous.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I was racing Terry when he first showed up, or a year ago, I think. Year and a bit.
I remember being in a group with Terry at the end of the Innsbruck Ring last winter in herd winter racing. I didn't stick with him in the sprint, but I was with him up the leg snappers.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, no, that's something to see. Anyway, I hadn't realized he'd gotten that fast.
It is always worth mentioning when a herd rider beats scorekeeper. So
Yes. I consider her scorekeeper honorary herd the amount of racing he does with us.
yeah. All right. Yeah, it's the route we all know with the difficulty we all know. I think that it's probably I was on full aero. I could see an argument for Tron or putting different wheels on like the Pinarello F.
Yes and no. I mean,
but it's depending on your level. It's for most people around above a minute's effort on leg snap, and for the rest it's flat. So I think arrow the way to go probably.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're over a minute up the leg snapper, you're probably the amount of time
Going pretty
spending.
fast too.
Yeah, you're still going pretty fast up the leg snapper because it's downhill.
Yeah.
Um, the amount, everything else is fast, fast, fast. I think if you're going to be in a group, you want the arrow to make it easier to stay in the group when it's easy and get back on if you get off, and then contest the sprint. And if you're
Yeah.
gonna, if you get dropped and you're by yourself, it's faster to be more arrow. So like, I think it just comes out. I can see the argument for the most arrow frame. I can see the argument for Tron. Maybe even Venge and the NV78s, but that I think you're better off with Tron or the disc.
Yep.
Okay, I think we've thrashed Innsbruck Ring. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Sorry.
I know.
Looks like it's going to be TikTok for her beginner racing.
It is. Yeah. Sorry. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to fix the formulas to pull that over to the main page again. Okay. TikTok. So yeah, TikTok. Great little course for HBR, and
And now it's the new adapted bands that we talked about last week, that Nathan talked about last week, will be enabled.
yeah.
Um,
So I listened to last week, and there was one thing because I was in that discussion about when they arrived at those limits, and one of the things that they were trying to do is not have the limits the same as the default limits. So the same people who are at the top of a category in the default are not at the top of a category in HBR. So that was, I think, one little wrinkle that I don't think Nate took credit for there. So
yeah, and he also, yeah, go for it.
I was going to ask if the constraint was also you didn't want to have like too narrow a band, so you'd only have like 4 or 5 people racing in that band.
Oh yeah,
to keep the numbers sort of reasonable.
Yeah, but I think we probably erred on narrowing the bands, especially at the bottom, even if they, previous races didn't have a lot of races who would have gone into that band, with the assumption that, to an extent, if you build it, they will come. As far as, there aren't any other races where somebody who's got a 95 ZRS is at the top of the category.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought of, right. Are you even going to bother getting into it if you know you're just going to come in mid to last? Yeah.
But it's last or next to last. Or...
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it, but it's definitely a disincentive.
Well, and it's by how far, right? It's It's one thing to be last. It's another thing to know you're going to be last when you get dropped immediately and nobody else does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the numbers were still good here. Nate messaged me this week. They had like 280 riders. I don't know if that's finished or started or sign ups, but across 6 races, that's
wow,
still pretty good numbers.
It is, yeah. So I think, there's demand for it. I think, honestly, we could probably do a better job publicizing it, and I think it can do even better. So, I think HBR has been a success. So I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah, I jumped at it HWR last weekend on the midday race on a Saturday for me, and I tried to do in the evening HBR, but my legs weren't feeling it. But we had like I think I was with the old bands second highest a band, I think, and we were about 12 guys in race. So
Yeah, no, so yeah, so that was with the old bands, right, Steph?
yeah, still with the old bands.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could have done HBR in the morning on Saturday last week because I was 473 to start the day. And then the Climbers Gambit with me, Sean, and John pushed me up over 490.
Did it?
Yes.
Yeah, you should have written it easy so that you know, I could take some of your ZwiftRacing.app points away from you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do at least one race this weekend, so I think I probably hit Amethyst this weekend.
So, I guess speaking of the Climbers Gambit, it looks like this week we've got Castle KOM
We
on
do
Chain
on
Chomper.
Chain Chomper, yeah. So that is
It's the final week of the series.
yeah. So the event ends at 6.8 kilometers, I guess, and the climb starts at 3.7.
So this is probably one where you don't want to get your warm up on course unless you're Craig and your warm up is just I turned my legs around the bike 5 times.
I say 3.7K. And there's some uphill in that. That's gonna be plenty good.
That's a good 6-7 minutes of warm up. That should be enough.
Yeah.
Let's just say I'll be doing the warm up ahead of time and then using that 3K to catch my breath.
Yeah, no, that's fair too. So yeah, Castle KOM. That's a right, Castle KOM. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of gravel. So is that a gravel bike?
No.
No, it's
No,
not.
not gravel.
The castle.
Oh,
it's
Temple is.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
got
that's
it.
the same one we did in last week's TTT.
If you say so.
I didn't do that one, but
Oh, okay.
2.7K at 2.1%. So
Yeah.
start off pretty flat. There are some steeper pinches. So
Yeah, so that one
wha-
it starts out like the KOM starts before the climb actually starts. So there's flat
Yeah.
leading in. So you're going to want to be at high speed entering. Then there's a bunch of, relatively even grade. Then there's some rollers in the middle. Then there's another relatively steep grade, and then there's flat at the top that you're going to need to sprint through for a good time.
yeah, I think it really starts when you cross the bridge going into the castle. There starts the first steep section, and then you have that roller, and then that's at the end that ramp to the castle, and then there's indeed like a 500 meter or a couple of 100 meters flat still till the banner. So
Yeah, it's that's an interesting one to pace for sure.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do that, but that looks fun.
And we're waiting to hear what the next series is going to look like.
Yeah. Yes.
Then we've got Mountain Goats Stampede. So have any of you been doing the Herd Club Challenge?
I have.
Mhm.
I haven't done a Mountain Goats.
Right.
I chose
I've
not to
done-
do mountain goats yet. It might not be a great choice.
What's
I've
this
done.
week's?
I just decided to do last week's on Snowman.
Was it the
Pretty
full
surprised.
course?
Yeah, it was a full course.
Oof.
I think on the on the talk when Brent mentioned it was partial upper climb, but yeah, that would have been probably on top of the grade. But from there onwards, it was downhill to flat to the finish anyway. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was brutal. That Mayan Itza, and then second part of the grade, pretty brutal combo. Only brutal is if you include the rollers up to Epic KOM, and maybe the radio tower, that would be even more brutal. But yeah, that's that second part of the grade. If you have already done quite a bit of pacing on that my and Itza combo, it was spicy. But yeah,
Picks up the field pretty well. So then can you I think the challenge is, can you find somebody to draft with on the way down? But
yeah, luckily I was we had pretty good group going into the Epic forwards to the bypass. There it splits, our group split apart. I found I was banned D, or the fourth category band, and I found a couple of 2C riders up until Mayan. We were together at the top of Mayan, but then I think one of the guys blew up because he went really backwards. I stayed with the other guy until the top of Itza, but I had to let him go on the grades. And there was one in my category who was a minute behind me when I started the grade, and he was with me on top.
okay.
Yeah, I had to pay. I didn't have a good rhythm, but luckily we grouped together for that final section downhill until the finish. And there he smoked me in sprint, but it was nice to have a couple of bodies, because it was 45 kilometers, so hour and a half ride. So definitely advisable if you have at least somebody to ride with. But we don't know what route it is for this week, because it's still saying Snowman. Might be because last week they said Snowman, or it's a party. Maybe it's a party this week. So who knows?
No. So according to Matt's schedule he gave us in September, Road to Sky.
Nope.
Again.
Classic.
Yep. So Road to Sky.
If you haven't done the Alp in a while, you can do it in this series or in the Tour of Utopia.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll get more XP. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, even in this race, you'll still get 1.5 XP.
Is that the way they're working at 1.5?
Yeah, because it's one of the Tour of Utopia routes.
Yeah.
So I was kind of banking on this weekend as the time when I was gonna do my catch up for the club challenge. I still need to do Mountain Goat Stampede and Bullseye. But it's looking like if I do that, I'm gonna have to do Mountain Goats and Stampede on Sunday, because I have a ladder race on Monday.
Couldn't you do the
also great
cool down after your ladder race?
That was kind of what I was thinking.
Well, was about to say that there would be a great preparation for your ladder race, doing those two the day before and then do a ladder race the day after.
Well, it's a ladder race. We are a group 4 to 6 team, and we're going against a 2 to 4 team.
Oof.
So I am gonna finish last and be okay with it.
You're strong 5, aren't you?
6.
Are you really?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm trying to
six
remember
is
what I'm trying to
six
remember
is
what
platinum.
did though.
6 is platinum, 5 is amethyst.
Oh, 5 is amethyst. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've been falling enough that I'm only barely a platinum anymore.
Yeah, fair. I'm I guess a strong platinum right now.
Yeah.
Although legitimately probably not really, given I gain points on every race.
Yeah.
To 2 months ago, I was a decent gold, and then my downward spiral went, and I'm now mid silver again.
Yeah,
So,
I mean some of that is population, right? The change on who's on Zwift.
Hmm.
I think that's probably a change in the summer months compared to winter.
yeah, but I think most of my races have been ladder races or a couple of others. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, that can be largely who you're racing. Yeah.
yeah,
Based on, so this is kind of encouraging. Even though I got dropped out of the pen today in HWR,
Yeah.
I only finished 4 places behind my predicted finish. So
Oh, nice.
Okay.
that's pretty decent.
so apparently I
Yeah,
was
well,
supposed to get dropped out of the pen.
Well,
Yeah.
in that group, yeah. It's
I mean, if they hit it hard, I was surprised they hit it hard and didn't just wait for the leg snapper, right? That's where I would have
I'm
guessed.
not.
No,
I'm
they're
not.
just
Yeah, so
maniacs.
those guys want so the guys like Matt and the Cedric Jeanrock who won, those guys want to drop as many of the punchy guys as possible as soon as possible
Oh,
because yeah.
they don't want to have to duke it out at a sprint finish?
Well, I mean, you've got Terry running 15 watt per kilogram, 15 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm not surprised that that kind of race gets a little tough out of the box there, but it's
Well, this
yeah.
is funny. Actually, so Stampede on Sunday, Monday is 2 laps of Castle Crit, which is also the course we're doing for ladder on Monday. So maybe I just do the
Oh,
ladder, hop
yeah.
right in, do the Stampede, just keep riding Castle Crit.
Well, you could do
Use
it.
it as a warm up.
You could do that Sunday as
Yeah.
recce. Yeah, just run it easy.
I mean, it sounds like my system of getting into the category below is just keep riding races until you're like so far down in the ranking that it drops you down to the next the sub 350 ZRS score.
This sounds like an admission of sandbagging, John.
I totally
That
sandbag.
does sound like sandbagging.
And it's totally worthless because the next race I'm going to do is HWR where it doesn't matter. Like it's one giant category. So I feel like I was planning on doing Bullseye on Wednesday and then got my COVID booster on Tuesday. So that changed everything.
Put a damper on that. Yeah.
Did not do anything Wednesday at all except fly around. But yeah, I still have to do Bullseye, so I guess I'm gonna have to get it in the last one of the
Bullseye
month.
Wednesday. Yeah, I might join you if I do end up getting Mountain Goats and Stampede in.
So Glasgow Crit, guys.
Yeah, Glasgow Crit is a
Crit.
fun one.
How many
It's
laps?
5.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Don't be. That's fun.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Is
If
it?
you can stay with the group.
How many sprints?
6.
So
it's
just
just
a
a
lap
lap
sprints,
banner.
is it just the lap banner?
Just the lap, not
Yeah.
the climb kicker. Yeah.
But they're still gonna kick it on the Clyde kicker. Like everybody's
Well,
gonna
yeah,
try
because
and
that's
drop
where you
it.
drop people and it's first
Yeah.
across line. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
All right, good
So,
times.
did we cover Stampede?
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
laps of the Castle Crit.
2 laps of
Yeah.
Castle Crit. Yes.
8.5 kilometers.
8.5 kilometers. That's I mean, it feels flat. It looks flat, but it's not. Yeah,
It's
Net flat.
it's net flat. Yes.
No, it's not
It's
uphill
net uphill because from the
you
pen.
start at the
It is net
fence,
uphill.
the castle fence, and you finish at Castle Keon banner. So
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
that is not uphill.
Yeah, that is net up, but it's not that far up. So
no,
Cool.
okay. So I think that is the week. Unless we want to mention next week's HWR on Yorkshire Double Loops.
Is
Or the
Yorkshire
community
Double
race,
Loops.
isn't that next week? The
What's
herd sponsored community race, isn't that next week?
That is, well, that's Tuesday. It's just a few days.
Yeah,
So we have, yeah, so the Herd Community Festival, Community Racing Festival, Z Racing Takeover, or whatever the official name of this schmozzle is.
Et cetera, et cetera.
So yeah, our route that we chose was Richmond roller coaster. I think I just saw a very good recce from oh, who was that? Was that Holly?
if you done Stampede last week, you would have done your recce already.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Oh shoot, I
Okay,
thought I just saw that.
it's basically you start at of course the Richmond Pens, and then you do the UCI course in reverse first. You do the 23rd Street reverse, Libby reverse, up Main Street, that long draggy climb up to the Fan Flats sprint banner. That's, I think, Monument. That's the lead in, and then you do a loop of 5 kilometers, basically the Fan Flats route in thirds. Maybe something like that.
mhm.
A lot of climbing in the beginning and then a lot of flats at the end.
And this is a scratch race, not a.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of the one thing that I wish we'd had a little more freedom in format on the Community Racing Festival.
Yeah.
We mentioned it last week already. That the clubs weren't able to showcase if they do different types of racing or organize different types of racing. But
Yeah, but then, you know,
It's
Fall Risk Racing, Flamme Rouge would have done something like PRL Full. So you
And
know,
doing that every hour.
yeah,
uh,
I get why Zwift did it. I just wish they hadn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes us through that. What do we have for news?
There's not a ton of new news that I could find. The next round of ZRL has been announced, so we've got courses, TikTok TTT, Turf and Surf Points Race, Mighty Metropolitan Scratch Race, Triple Flat Loops TTT, Keith Hill After Party Points Race,
Ooh,
and then the Herdringfra Fechan, 3 Little Climbs,
Community vote.
is the community chosen race, the ones that we talked about last week.
how do you say that? I thought that was Feckham.
Maybe it is. It's Welsh. I don't speak Welsh.
I thought there was a in there.
Which I think that was is that the one that we liked? Forget.
I thought
It ends on, yeah, it ends on Titans forward,
yeah.
not reverse.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones that we liked.
There were
And it like goes up to the bypass and then comes back down and it does one other climb, and I forget what the other climb is now.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
liked
like
this one.
that one too. I mean,
I
my
think
vote
this one was my number one choice.
my
Mhm.
number one was Three Ring Circus because, well, I love the Zwift KOM reverse. So
Yeah.
Just not after 68 kilometers.
yeah,
That's my request.
I don't know.
I think
I still loved that at the end of Big Foothills. So
Oh, I've never felt like that before. My legs have never felt like that before. Where
oh,
it was just
I know
cramps, like
exactly.
cramps in the calves and the ham, like everything was just like, nope.
Yeah. So I went because I had dropped from the lead group of Bs and hung on to the second group, and I dropped on that KOM reverse. I dropped the group I had come onto and went through most of the group I had been dropped from.
Nice.
And I was dropped on Titans.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
That was a while ago, but there's a long distance between that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, yeah, 'cause I think I made up a minute or something.
That's gotta feel good.
It did, except it didn't because then
And then,
I still had to keep riding.
yeah, you still had to go down the hill. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think-
that looks like a really good route.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
always fun routes when you haven't raced them before or you haven't ridden them with an eye toward racing. I mean, there's plenty of routes I've not raced on.
Yeah, I mean, but this is a brand
But
new
this
one.
is one no one will have raced on.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of folks will blow up on the first hill or yeah, it'll be really interesting.
Yep. No, and so you go up the opposite way compared to the ocean lava cliffside loop, or I might have gotten that backwards.
Yeah, if you first
Yeah.
go to Epic KOM to bypass that set time,
Yeah.
then indeed you start to reverse really KOM, but you take the bypass down and you end up on the forward section, then do what we called the maybe obsolete parts to the volcano, and then end up finishing on top of Titans forward.
It is going to be a long race.
Mhm.
Well, longish.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of climbing, but there's a couple decent ones that are going to break things apart.
Yeah.
What's the total distance? I forgot.
34.6.
That's longer for a ZRL race, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Gonna
definitely
be-
had longer. The ones that took
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ones that caused the revolt in the D's to have shorter or
Yes.
like an alternate route because
Yeah.
it was like we're out here for 2 hours.
Is this what you thought you signed up for? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple of those. Yeah,
And
that's
segue. I was about to say segue to if you want to do longer routes, also new news for the crazy people on Zwift. I think next week the FRR Farm Rouge Racing Tour of Britannia starts.
And what's that?
They can't do it
Basically-
all in London, can they? Maybe they can.
Oh, they can do a bunch in Scotland. They can use Scotland and Yorkshire as well, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, they choose their routes. They say Tour de France or whatever, but it's not
Yeah.
specific to that Tour of Bretagne can have routes in Mercury or Watopia or whatever. So
Oh, sure, sure.
yeah.
So other thing in the news, I think this was this week. Yeah. Zwift and Zert announced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Zert.
So
I think it's pronounced exert.
is it Exert?
I would assume so, given that you're doing some exertion.
I
Yeah.
assumed always assumed Zert, but I can
Dessert
be
sounds like a candy.
yeah. But
Yeah.
Zert sounds great with Zwift, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. It is less exciting than it uh, when I first saw the headline and that there was a Exert Zwift integration. I thought they were bringing some like AI training plans into Zwift, but that is not the case unless you sign up for an Exert subscription, which I would recommend if you don't if
there
you
is a
don't
free
have
month
a
as well.
yeah, so if
Yeah.
you don't have a training plan and you want to train, uh, it is really good at. So I used to have this for a while actually. And then I switched over to Trainer Road, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to train myself. Um, but they do a really good job of assessing FTP based on just rides that you've done, as long as you've done some capacitive efforts.
Mm.
Uh, and depending on the type of training that you say that you want to do, so you usually you set a target event at some point in the future, um, that has a different it could be you're training for a crit, you're training for a 40K TT. It'll have different energy systems that it targets for you and will build you a training plan over the course of that time. And I think the API integration is just, okay, well, we have this training plan for you, and now you can actually have it push your workouts over to Zwift.
Yeah, so basically, as far as I read it, the integration is essentially just they're now doing what Training Peaks has done for 5 years.
Yep.
In
Yep.
that your
Mm.
workout of the day will show up in Zwift workouts and you can
Yep.
just so without any extra noise. So I mean that's convenient, but if you do the workout natively in Exert, I guess, it can do some smart things where it judges, your heart rate at given power outputs and such, and automatically adjusts the intensity of the workout. And that
Mm.
stuff isn't integrated into Zwift. So, but those workouts are fine. The work it's building the workout based on what you've done and what it thinks your strengths are. So yeah, I think it's anyway, it's another tool that works a little smoother with Zwift, and
Yeah.
they're offering a free month for anybody that wants to try it. So if you want to try it, go for it.
Yeah, I think this might. I remember when I was listening a couple of months back to when Eric Langley was on the Utopia Weekly podcast. He mentioned Zwift opening up their API for sets for structured working plans like Training Peaks already had, but yeah, to do your workouts in certain platforms that you can integrate that workout in your Zwift workout sheet, so workout of the day. So yeah, that's one of the, I wouldn't say first examples, but one of the examples probably linked to that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's interesting news. That's good news. And as I've been looking at, a bunch of the people complaining about the ZRS, and many of the complainers are people whose 95% of 20 minutes, and then ZFTP has stayed very, very close to the roof of a category for many years.
Yep.
I think for many of those people that have been on the top of those categories, it might be a good time to train that long-term power, because that's not art of having it be lower isn't keeping you in a lower category anymore. So just train it.
Yeah, that's
That's my
definitely
response.
gonna end up being my weakness in if I end up in a category where, I mean, that's I think, Craig, that's probably going to be your situation as well. You're going to end up racing against riders with better long power than you
Oh,
have.
definitely.
Like,
Yeah. And like I think I can get that long power back before too long. So I've actually started a structured plan again this week. So yeah, we'll run a bunch of sweet spot and VO2 stuff, bunch of structured. That is, all of that is longer than the intervals I've been doing. So yeah, so try and lengthen that power out and have some fun on Zwift through the winter.
Yeah. I was thinking also about, since it's going in winter, or to do again also a couple of months structured workout, building up again after summer season and racing season and outdoor season. But I have to see how I will plan it with a couple of still races, mainly my ladder races, and so to see what plan fits best for that combo.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it's just, if you're doing a bunch of races, you're getting a bunch of intensity in.
Yeah.
So it's ride some endurance rides and ride some sweet spot rides, because those sweet spot rides are what most of us are missing if we're doing some easy rides and some racing.
Yeah. Yeah, because the base miles, the endurance miles that I do outside, and I have plenty of racing indeed as well. But indeed, that sweet spot training, that longer sweet spot and training is indeed something I have to take into account more. Because for example, for that race that I did on mountain goats, sweet spot, that's basically what you do there, because you want to do good in the race, but you can't do it at your threshold, so you go to tempo, to sweet spot for those longer climbs anyways.
Yeah, and I'm currently doing a structured training plan for running. I want to try to run a half marathon after Thanksgiving, and it'll plan out my week, and then I'll do my races on the weekend, and it'll say, "Oh no, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore." It reels them all back and says, "Yeah, you should probably rest Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday." Okay, not going to argue, but
So, as a guy that did a lot of running training with a bunch of other sports at the same time and other hard physical things in my job at the time, yeah, if if I don't know if you're using a Garmin or whatever.
yeah, just using Garmin, and they're
So don't listen to it when it says to rest. Just do an easy run instead of the threshold run.
That's what I've been doing. Like, it'll tell me, like, map out the week, and it'll say, all right, on Tuesday you're going to do like basically a bunch of series of sprints, like hard 1 minute efforts, and then you get a 2 minute rest, and you do 5 or 7 or 9 of those, and then it'll like pull that back and be like, no, you should rest. So I'll usually do like just sort of like you say, like a sweet spot sort of zone 3-ish run.
Yeah, and that's where, yeah, for a lot of people, if you're not comfortably running a long run that's already half marathon distance, your easy run is probably really zone 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I figure I need to get the miles in for the pounding, right? That's where it's like
But
I'm just not
absolutely,
used to
yeah.
that piece of
No,
it. Like,
it's joints and muscles for sure.
yeah.
I always love when I'm training pretty good, and then start turning my arm. It says, "Now you have to rest for 72 hours." Thinking,
I know.
nope, no, not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do nothing, but I'm gonna do just an endurance ride or something for an hour the next day or whatever. But
Yeah.
Sometimes, so I got one of those, and it does help that um, my bike computer, my Garmin computer, like never updates my FTP, so it still has whatever, like it updates it upwards, but it never updates it downward.
Yeah.
So like it still thinks that like you're at your peak. So when I'm pretty far from my peak and do a ride that's so hard that it says I should rest for 3 or 4 days,
Oh God.
and I wake up the next day and I go, oh yeah, it actually feels like maybe I should.
Yep.
Take it
yeah,
with a
the
grain of
only
salt.
because you use your Garmin even for the indoor rides. I don't. But then the time that I sometimes set my FTP based on certain data in Zwift or whatever, and try to put that in Garmin, but then Garmin says, "Oh no, I'm gonna up it again to change it back," or if you have a higher FTP on than 20-minute best on Zwift, which is a new FTP, but the next you update it in Garmin, but the next time you do just a normal ride endurance ride, it reverts to its old status. So it it doesn't pick up the intensity I do on Zwift because I don't use my head units indoors. Yeah.
I don't know if we have a ton of time to talk about it, but one of the things that I kind of was interested in chatting about for Around the Horn, John, not really necessarily doing a multi-sport event, but talking about cross training. I've got a good friend who lives alone and has planned on doing. He's been running, but wants to do a triathlon in a year, like an Ironman, or maybe a half Ironman.
Probably half.
I think it was a
about to
half
say,
Ironman.
70.3.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's going to do a half Ironman in a year, which does mean that he's pretty committed to this.
Okay.
And he was asking me, okay, so what's that like indoor thing that you've been doing? He's probably going to end up getting a tri bike. If that was you and you're starting fresh, knowing what you know now, what would you get? What would you like? What kind of setup would you get? Like, where would you run Zwift from? What kind of trainer would you get? And would you like? I think for triathlon, I think I would suggest to him like get the tri bike and ride that inside, so that you get used to that position.
The geometry is key. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I would also hesitate to suggest a tri bike to somebody that hasn't biked much at all.
Fair.
And say get a road bike and get some clip-on aero bars.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a lot less. Honestly, you're probably not going to get into a super aero position for the ride, and your body means so much more than the bike for time anyway.
Yeah. And he's he was like he's a wrestler type, so he's not the most aero person
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah, so I would probably go, I would recommend, yeah, don't spend your money on a tri bike, spend your money on swimming lessons.
Swimming is so technical.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Especially if you've got to do a mile and a half of it.
No,
Oh,
100%. A friend of mine got into long course triathlon, and I was looking at her race times, and like, at one point I said something, like her marathon was a little slow for her, and I said, not that I'm saying anything, I would have drowned 11 hours ago, and
right.
it's one of those. But it's yeah, it's just time on the bike. I think spending a pile of money on a bike for a first race is not worthwhile.
Yeah.
Get a nice, reliable road bike. Get some clip-on aero bars. Learn how to change tires yourself.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid of the clip-on aero bars even if you're a new bike rider. Like,
Well, I mean,
new bike rider, I guess.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know how fast he's trying to do this.
Yeah.
Spend some time on the bike in meet space, not just on the trainer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You probably spend a lot of time on the trainer, especially you said he was closer to my latitude than yours.
Yeah, he's up in Washington.
Yeah, so he'll probably have some time, some parts of the year where it's time on the trainer mostly.
Yeah,
So,
I mean it's Eastern Washington, so it's, I don't know,
It
maybe
does
less
get
rainy.
cold, less
Yeah.
rainy, but it gets cold in the winter for sure.
yeah, I think they get a lot of snow up there. Last I talked to somebody who lived up that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think that's probably a winter Zwift because of snow, and
Which, I mean, that might be ideal to like get some fitness and then get out and like be
Yeah.
able to actually have fun once you're out riding on the
Yeah.
roads.
Yeah.
Well,
Be able to
I
plan
mean,
some long rides.
yeah, the worry of that is always crashing, right?
Yeah.
As your fitness is greater than your talent, but
Mhm.
it's that's what to be careful of. But yeah, get on the bike, get into, try and get comfortable on aero bars, but also be comfortable in the drops and on the tops.
The
And
drops for sure.
yeah,
And to round it out, I'd go Apple TV and an old monitor you got. Like,
well, yeah, I'd mostly say, what do you have?
yeah, what can you
Yeah.
put together, right?
Yeah, because the easiest there's Zwift will run on so many different things that you can probably run it on something you've got.
Laptop.
And yeah, laptop,
iPad,
desktop, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys that have
tablet.
that have desktops for running other things, and yeah, you just use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
And then-
the best experience is definitely a desktop with a mid-grade
graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enough RAM.
And then I guess the question is, do you go with a new trainer? Do you wait for
Right.
like the jet black Victory with all the bells and whistles? Or
I mean, the Victory
Facebook
looks,
Marketplace, you can get a kicker core for like 300, sub 300 even.
yeah, and I'd even say if you're looking at, I don't know what this guy's power is going to be like, but for smaller people who are looking more at triathlon long TT kind of training, that 4 I fly I is
I used to have that.
What's that?
I used to have that.
Yeah, it's a decent option if you're not trying to do road bike racing on Zwift, because it doesn't deal with sprints well.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know what power it was giving me because I also had power pedals.
Yes.
So it was giving me enough resistance to
Fair.
be able to sprint. But
Is this the Kaiser bike? No.
No, so it's a wheel-on trainer, but
Wheel on train.
It's
there's no
magnets.
yeah, it's no contact. It's eddy currents in an aluminum wheel kind of resistance.
Okay. So
Yeah,
maxes out the total.
Which was why I liked it. It was like, oh, it's an engineering nerds trainer.
It
Yeah.
really is. I love it. But it doesn't fit what I do on the trainer. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that his goal is going to be able to do, let's call it 250 for 3 hours.
Yeah. So
Like-
I mean the flight will support the kind of training to do that for sure. It's the 500-watt intervals that people want to do that it doesn't do well.
So the thing is, knowing him, I will not be surprised when 3 months from now he is obsessed with racing on Zwift.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
And you know
Because-
what? So if he does that paired with a couple long rides a week, that will get him prepared really well. And if that keeps his interest and keeps him doing it, that it's better than optimized training you end up stopping.
Yep. Yeah, he is a very competitive person who gets really obsessed with the thing, and so like
So
I do-
you're telling me you're bringing a new guy into the herd.
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and you really find your FTP. Like I didn't find I did all the FTP tests and it came out, whatever it was, 180. And my first race, it was like, oh, new FTP, 195. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. I guess I can go a lot harder than that.
That did not happen to me. I don't know if you guys saw the race result.
Yes.
I put
You
in.
gained 1 watt. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean the race result this is from 2019. I just put in the chat,
Oh, I missed that.
but yeah, no, that was I got dropped hard.
Yeah, but yeah, I think there are a lot of options. You have a good smart trainer, and if like I did, I still have my old road bike from now 10, 11 years ago that was taking its course for doing it outdoors or play stats with a new bike, but it's been sitting on my I bought a Zwift up, but it's been sitting there now for a year and a half, and it's doing its job. So but yeah, and then there's the option if you wanna go. Yeah, you have the full-ons smart trainers, but yeah, for instance, it's still if you're sticking to Zwift, the Zwift Ride is still, I think, a good option.
The Zwift Ride is a great option.
I have it open right now. The
Yeah,
$1,200 for a bike, a trainer, virtual shifting, a chain that was set as a lasting of 5 years. Don't for that money.
the thing I think that I will need to, so I might suggest this Zwift Ride with the kicker core. But only if he's going to have it remain set up, if he has space for it to stay up.
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I have dreams of having that and not having a second bike for my wife and daughter. But then I also realize then I'm going to have to change the geometry every time we switch between riders. And I spent a lot of time tweaking my geometry. Like,
Are they not meant for
millimeters
that?
at a time.
It
What's
looks
that?
it looks pretty well made for that. Like when I like it looks like those spin bikes. Like it's
got the adjustability, but like
it's got
getting
the
it,
adjustability, but it's
getting
got
it right.
graduations on the
Mm.
stem. It's got same on the seat post. Like it looks pretty well made for adjusting
Making a
to
switch
multiple riders.
adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have trouble dealing with Sean,
Yeah.
but
Most things do.
Yeah.
And then there's saddle
Yeah.
preference, right? Everybody
Yeah, fair.
seems to have their own saddle preference. So then there's like a little bit of fiddling with the.
Well, you
Yeah.
ride most, so everyone else rides your saddle.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly with my wife. My daughter would do it, but yeah, that's.
Like I said, I have my old bike, but now that first you had the combo, the trainer and the Zwift ride frame, but now since the frame is also separately available to buy, it's a consideration to doing that, because basically my old bike hasn't left a trainer in the almost 18 months, apart from when I had to take it to my local bike shop to get something fixed. But for the rest, it just stays on that bike. Like Sean said, if you wanna think the Zwift ride, you have to have it just be a dedicated constructed assembled together. But
And Craig,
the only problem, Tina, I don't know how prevalent it is, but seeing a lot of posts on the Swift Rabbit that packaging and sending trainers off to people, this can cause some problem, because sometimes the packaging isn't that well done, and it causes some damages to the frame when they get it. But yeah.
And this is something that the average person never really thinks about, but packaging design is a huge thing, and you can really get it wrong. And it feels like they did on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it can probably be adjusted. It's cardboard, but yeah, it feels like they need to fix some things with
version
the way
2.0. And Craig, you had mentioned the cranks being sub-ideal. I don't know if that's going to matter for a large statured person, but are they a wide crank in Q factor, or
no?
just
I don't think
stuck with
I don't think so.
170 millimeter or whatever it is?
I know they're a fixed length, but
yeah. So I think 172.5. There's somebody had something about them being some weird spec or something.
The spindle's not current, or even the old square taper. Like, it's just a proprietary spindle. So you can't swap out aftermarket crank.
Well, but I don't know, like, what's the bottom bracket shell that they put in it? Is it something that you can put another bottom bracket in?
Yeah.
So I haven't seen anybody that's tried that yet. So I ride a lot of different kinds of bikes that have a lot of really weird bottom brackets.
That's right. I forgot
BMX
the BMXs are like 78s or fat bikes too. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird options out there. But yeah, so it almost has to be something that already existed. I can't see them coming up.
I would think so. Yeah, why would they invent something new for something that's been around?
Yeah.
I mean, it has changed, right? What, about 10, 15 maybe years ago, they switched from the square to the hollow.
Well, I mean, there was many standards back then. There were many standards back in the 80s, and there's many standards now.
They're just different standards.
They're just different.
Yeah.
We're not really using Ashtabula anymore, and that's the old one piecers.
Oh, right.
Those
were even older. Yeah.
Square taper aren't really in a lot of use other than kids' bikes anymore. The 24 millimeter Holotech 2 type is really common.
Right.
There's a lot of 29 and 30 millimeter hollow. I've seen 22 millimeter and 19 millimeter solid and hollow axles. Like, there's all kinds of specs out there. And then you get into what's the actual shell. Is it a press in? Is it thread in? Is it
right?
Size of each? There's what width are we talking about? Yeah, sorry. It goes, you can, I'll stop.
It's just
forever.
It is. And like, I am realizing this now because I think I've mentioned that I was having some issues with my shifting and like I fixed the indexing, but it's still slipping on the front. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm either gonna have to get a new chain ring for an like a well, it's I have my front chain ring looks it's been I've ridden it whatever 6 years of 10,000 K plus a year.
You
Yeah.
need new chain
It's-
ring badly.
But the question I'm getting to is like, well, do I just get a chain ring and like stick with Campagnolo, or do I switch over to Shimano? But to do that, I need a new bottom bracket and new
Right.
everything.
But I mean, bottom brackets are easy.
Yeah.
Well,
But like my bike has a weird bottom bracket standard.
what's your bike?
It's a Cervelo R3, like 2011. It's a BB Wright.
Oh, the BB Right. Yeah. I mean, they're out there.
Yeah. Anyway,
They're-
there's all
You're
of
not
these.
going to walk into the shop and walk out with one, but
No.
they're out there. Yeah.
So I am considering just like scrapping this, like the campy stuff that came on the bike that I bought used 7 years ago, and getting something that I know I can index easily and but we'll
So-
see.
Knowing your stature, do you like a long crank or no?
I mean, 175s.
So, I mean, I also run 175s. You've got no desire to try 185s?
No.
Okay.
Could you, yeah, just find, I mean, that's the crazy thing about bike parts. Like it's so hard to find.
They're not
185s are easy to find.
100%
Hmm.
profile racing, baby.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, anyway, this is things that so they're an American BMX crank maker.
BMX, yeah.
Yeah, but who make these, the adapters to put road chain rings on those cranks.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, so-
I have this like I am fine spinning.
Yeah.
And that's I mean I think the thing that I would worry about going with longer, like with 185s, is clipping my pedals around turns.
Corners.
It already happens at times.
Don't pedal around corners.
I mean, ideally at some point I would love to race some outdoor crits.
Yeah, so you lean it over, you pump that corner, and then you pedal out of it as you stand it back up. That's how you corner.
Yeah. But getting a couple extra pedal strokes into the turn would be nice. Anyway, thanks. I think that's helped. Like anybody got final answers for each of you? Like what would you do in this situation?
Honest, I would go kicker core and whatever used road bike and kit that he wants to race on. Or if multiple people want to ride this fictional setup, the Zwift ride.
Okay.
Yeah, if your goal is to keep it to a minimum of cost, I'd go with I mean, the whole used bike thing is also hard if you're not a cyclist. Like, are you really going to get what you need? Do you have a friend who can help you get what you need? Like,
Fair.
but
you're not
assuming
gonna-
that's all
Yeah.
there, right? Yeah, perfect. In a perfect world, you'd get the perfect used bike or used road bike. You'd put it on a used kicker core. You'd use an existing laptop that you have, or at worst, buy an Apple TV for what is it, $120 or something, and put it on a monitor that's sitting in the back of the closet that you're not using. And it's as good as almost anything, you'll get a slightly better experience on all brand new stuff with all like a high-end desktop or something, but yeah, I think you can get away with it for less than $1,000 for all that.
Yeah, and I don't think you're gonna get much better experience on, the kicker bike or any of the other, you know, Cadillac options. And that's, I have both a core and a kicker V5,
Hmm,
and the the core's fine.
right.
I like the V5. I like it, but is it really worth any more? Probably not.
Is it worth $300 or $400 more?
Yeah, no.
Spend that on your
On
And
swim
that-
lessons.
swimming lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually as much as, I am not a swimmer, I'm not a triathlete. Of what I know of all three sports and people who do them, swim, swim, swim.
Yeah.
That's the one you need to make a conscious effort to do as often as possible with as few breaks as possible, because you can get back on the bike after 2 weeks and you'll have lost that 5 or 8% or whatever, but you can lose a lot of that sense really quick
Mhm.
in swimming. Okay, and if we don't have anything else, I don't have anything else. I think that is the end of it.
Just
Oh,
maybe just a quick shout out, since it's end of ladder transfer window again. We're on Monday. We do our regular end of period herd EMEA ladder battle royal friendly race again, for just all the EMEA ladder teams. Just put them in one race, basically a mini HWR, but for EU ladder racers, and duke it out for bragging rights or whatever, just for a bit of end of season fun.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think I've gotten roped in with the herd of Wobegons here, so
Mhm.
which is a shark, if
And,
anybody's wondering.
yeah.
So
And Sean, and as Sean mentioned, he's been ringed in as well in the ladder
I'm a
scene
waffle.
again. Yeah, waffle riders.
Oh, the controversial waffles.
that was a controversial call.
Well, I'll mention it, but after thinking about it, there's on the US side, you still have the herd of randos, which is also, I don't think, an animal. And in EU, we have the mammals, which is debatable if it's the mammal as in the animal group or the acronym. So
Yeah. No, all good. But yeah, so transfer window up. There's a couple new teams about to starting, or I don't know if the Waffles have played on yet, but people
Okay.
are playing on to the ladder. So yeah, find your ladder team, have some fun, and we'll see you out there. So thank you to Steph Etienne. Thank you to John Keenan. Thank you to Sean Fogenberg. And we have moo and good night.
Yeah.